just did are called transformations. Transformations are the cumulative description of how the parent function is changed. Parent function describes the most basic form of a graph. So those things that we plugged in the beginning, y equals x squared, y equals the absolute value of x, those are all examples of parent functions. They are the most basic before we add anything onto it. Specifically, the ones that we did at the end where we were moving the graph up, down, left, and right, those are called translations. Translations are specific types of functions that move horizontal or vertical and we're going to be really focusing on those translations today. Questions on that? So, I kind of mentioned this yesterday briefly when I was talking about quadratics, but I told you that our equations are going to take a different form in this unit specifically. When we talk about quadratics specifically, we would call this form vertex form, but it basically contains three main components. There's the y and the x, yes, but there's also a. Ooh, I didn't even know it could do that. Where are we? Here. It also contains a, h, and k. I'm going to tell you what each one of these does. A is that number that we put in the very front where we were saying, okay, if we put some bigger numbers in there, it stretches, smaller numbers compress, negative numbers reflect. So here's how we're going to write that. Remember, when we talk stretched and compressed, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. +2 and -2 give you the same stretch. So I'm going to call that the absolute value of A is greater than 1. Then I get a stretch. And if the absolute value of A is between 0 and 1, so meaning it's like a fraction or a decimal, then it's compress. Remember, we kind of have talked about this before, so hopefully that's not new vocab for us. And then anytime our A value is less than 0, aka it is negative, then it is reflected. Good? Hopefully a little familiar. The next part is H. H is always inside of a set of parentheses. So it will literally go immediately after whatever the X is. There will be no square in between it. There'll be no absolute value signs in between it. It goes immediately after the X. If I have a plus H, let's look back up at my notes here. If I added a number, remember that's moving to the left. Oops. And when I subtracted a number, that moved to the right. That's what we figured out on Desmos. This is a little counterintuitive to what we think it is, because usually when you think of going to the right, you're thinking about going more positive. So maybe make yourself a note that this is the opposite of what you think. And then the last number is K. K goes on the very end. It goes after the squares, after the absolute values, after the parentheses. All the way at the end is K. And K moves our function up and down. If we take a look at our notes, when we add K, we move up. When we subtract K, we move down. So plus K is upwards. Minus K is downwards. Any questions on this? Okay, so flip it over. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a equation, and we're going to determine with its A, H, and K values, what kind of transformations, specifically the translations, do we have. So the first two questions, the reflection, the stretching, the compressing, that all has to do with the a value. So I'm going to look at my function. What I also want to do first is determine the parent function. What's the most basic form of this equation? If I take away all the a's, h's, and k's, what am I left with? Any idea? A quadratic. It's y equals x squared. So I'm going to make a little note that that is my parent function. That way I know everything else on this equation is added. It's a transformation. Which means this -2 right here, that's my a value. If I have a -2 as my a value, is this reflected? Yes. And then -2, stretched, compressed, or neither? That one's going to be stretched. Numbers bigger than 1 are stretched. Perfect. Then I look at the rest of my equation. Is there anything immediately after the x? That would be a horizontal shift h. I don't have anything, so I can write none. And then is there anything after that squared? Also don't have anything there. That would be a k value. I have none. Any questions on that? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's go a little bit faster. What's the parent function here? If I strip everything else extra off of this, I have y equals what? Not exponential. What are those lines called? Absolute value of x. That's my parent function. So then everything else is added on. This first part, the 4, that's my a value. So is it reflected? Is it stretched, compressed, or neither? Stretched because it's bigger than 1. I look for my h value next. I'm looking immediately after that x. Is there anything immediately after it? No. So I have no horizontal shift again. Then I look after the absolute value sign. I do have a -1 out here. That's my k value. Which direction is that moving my graph? Up or down? It's got to be up or down. Down. And we're going to say it goes down 1. Good? Any questions on that? Let's keep going. Letter C. Take everything else off. What is my parent function here? Y equals x squared. Then do I have an a value? So it's not reflected. And when I don't have an a value, it's neither stretched nor compressed. Do I have an h value? Immediately after that x is the h value, so it's a -7. Which direction does that move my graph? To the right 7. And then do I have a k value on the end? No, so that's none. Okay, one more, like this, and then we move on to the next one. Strip everything back. What's my parent function? Y equals x to the 3rd. Keep an eye out for that. That's an x to the 3rd, not an x to the 2nd power. So yes, do I have an a value? Technically, yes, I do. It's right here. What's that number in the front, though? A 1. So a -1 means reflected, stretched, compressed, or neither? Neither, because it's a 1. Horizontal shift, what am I looking at? Left 4, perfect. And then vertical shift, up 5. Lovely. Make sense? Okay, now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to be told what our transformations are. We have to write the new equation. So let's take a look at letter A here. It first tells me that my parent function is called f of x equals x squared. That means that one's named f. We're going to pick a new name. You can pick really whatever letter you feel like. I'm going to call mine g of x. Because G comes after F. I don't know. E, F, G, right? Am I wrong? Okay. I want to say that this parent function, x squared, shifts to the right 4 units and shifts 1.5 units down. Do I have an a value according to this graph, according to this information? No a value, so I'm going to skip right to this x squared. Now, what's weird about when we square or cube numbers is we have to put this x in some parentheses and then put the 2 on the outside because this is where my h is going to go. So I got to leave room for the h. So let's put that in parentheses. What's my h value going to be? -4. Here's my h. It's shifting to the right 4, so I want -4. Do not forget to put your squared on the outside. Then, shifts 1.5 units down. That's going to be my k value. How do I say that it shifts 1.5 units down? -1.5 on the end. Perfect. Everybody sees where we get those numbers from, yes? Okay, take a look at B. My parent function is the absolute value of x. I've got a bunch of information here. You can call this whatever you want to. I'm going to call it g of x again. Where am I going to start? What's my a value going to be? I need an a value first. Why negative? It has to be reflected, so it's negative. And then it's stretched by a factor of 3, so you put a 3 there. Some of your homework says, like, what is the stretch or compress factor? It's just that number in the front. Okay, then I got my absolute value. I got to leave room for an h value. Do I have an h value here? What is it? Plus or minus 9? Plus 9. And then my k value, plus or minus? Plus. Perfect. Keep going. Letter C, my parent function is f of x equals x squared. Remember, when I have an x squared, I need to move it over and have some room for that h value to go next to it. So when we write our equation, I'm going to start with its name. Do I have an a value? I think I do. What's the a value here? Negative, because it's reflected, and the 1/2. That's my a value. I've got x. Do I have an h value? What's the h value? Plus or minus? If I'm going to the left, I want a plus 3. Don't forget that squared there. And then do I have a k value? So I'm going to move on. Done with that one. Last one. Stretched by a factor of 5, shifted down 1, shifted right 2. What's my formula here? Somebody want to try? Cody. Is it negative? It's going to be positive. It's not reflected. Then what? Good. Perfect. Everybody good with that? Fantastic.